Hello, we're actually back on this channel. I can't believe it. My good microphone just crapped out on me. This little baby over here, the batteries are almost empty and I know they're going to fail while I film. So we have this microphone. I hope it's okay. It's new, so I don't know it yet. Today we're going to do the Booktube Newbie Tag. I don't want to talk exclusively about books on this channel, but I want to talk more about books. So I figured I should do this tag. Someone suggested it in the comments before, and I love hearing from you guys, so let's do it. First question is, why did you start this channel? So originally I started this channel because my mom wanted me to publish my Corona video in English, and so I needed to put it somewhere. And I couldn't put it on my German channel. If you don't know, I have a German main channel. I'm actually a German-speaking YouTuber. I couldn't put an English video on my German channel, so I decided to open up a new channel. Then I was like, oh, well, maybe I could just keep uploading videos here and just upload the videos that I can't upload on my normal channel. So here we are. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? Well, I don't know. I guess I have an interesting perspective because I did grow up biculturally, so I am an American that was born and raised in Germany by American parents, however. So I read mostly English books because that's the language that I experience my culture in, I guess. But I still have a very German perspective on things, I would say, because I grew up here, I went to German schools, I'm in a German university, so I'm going to have a different perspective on things. But books are also a way for me to connect with my culture, because obviously I haven't lived in the States and I don't really plan on living in the States in the near future at least. So it's also a way for me to connect with the culture. So I think, I don't know, maybe that's an interesting perspective. We'll see. What are you most excited for about this new channel? I'm excited for it to keep me accountable to actually read more, because I have this feeling that I have like reading bursts, but I've realized that I usually stop reading because I don't have a plan for what I'm going to read next. And I think having a BookTube channel, or at least a channel that's going to talk more about books, will keep me on my toes. So I always have like priority of books that I want to read soon. And I've already started doing that. I've already started planning the books more, and I realize how I am reading way more just because of it. So I think I'm actually excited about that aspect of it, and also being able to talk about the books, because often I read them and I don't really reflect on them as much as I would like to. And I think making videos about them and actually talking about them and figuring out what I liked and what I didn't like, that would be, I don't know, interesting to other people, interesting to hear your comments as well. Why do you love reading? Oh, I can't even remember when I started reading. I guess there are many reasons. I love the escapism of it, so I just love being in a different place, not necessarily a world. I'm not a big fantasy person, so I usually do read stuff that is actually in our like time or world at least. But I just enjoy a good story. I like going on adventures with other people. I like experience other people's lives. So actually, even when I'm talking to other people, I love it when they tell their stories, and I just really appreciate it. And I also think with books, you get a real look into other people's minds. And I think it's really important especially in our world today where we're so diverse and there's so many perspectives and everything, it's super important to read what other people are thinking and to read what their standpoint might be. So it's also a tool for me to understand more people, I guess. I just love the activity behind it too, just sitting there with like a cup of tea and sipping it and reading a book. Oh, it's just the best. What book or series got you into reading? Oh Lord, I can't remember. So I started reading when I was 3. Editing Becky here. I have since fact-checked that, and I was 4. I was late 4 years old, but it happened when I was 4. I don't know why I keep saying 3. I'm going to keep saying 3 throughout this video, but I watched it now while editing and I was like, 3? That's pretty damn early. So it was 4. A late 4, but it was 4. I do remember one story about a frog and a river. I remember that was the first English book that I read, and I never stopped. I never really stopped. I mean, I stopped reading when I did my bachelor's degree, because that was just way too much reading from uni, and then I couldn't read outside of university. But I just never really stopped. So I can't remember. I'm sorry. I don't know. But I really enjoyed the Harry Potter books. That's a very vivid memory I have from my childhood. I remember reading Narnia So the Narnia books, I also remember that, and I remember reading the Twilight books and the Tintenherz books by Cornelia Funke. So those were some books or series from my childhood that I very distinctively remembered, but I read a lot. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I would probably ask whether they feel like they have actually read everything or if they forget most of what they read, because I feel like a lot of booktubers read so much that it would be very difficult to remember everything, and I even feel bad when I forget stories pretty quickly after I've read them. I guess that's normal because we can't remember everything that we've ever read ever, especially if we're not like studying for a test and not repeatedly reading it. So it makes sense, but I guess I would ask booktubers about the insecurities that I have about reading. So did I read enough? Did I read it too quickly? Did I do this? Did I do that? But I think at the end, we just have to read the way we enjoy reading, and that's going to be different for everyone. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I think the most difficult thing will actually be to read enough for it to be interesting in videos. I'm also not sure if I can do monthly videos on what I've read, because I'm not sure. I just have very different phases in my life, and I don't think I'm always going to be able to prioritize reading enough for it to be interesting to talk about the books every month. But I think at the end of every quarter, I probably have enough books to actually talk about, so that's probably something. When did you start reading? Well, I mentioned it before, I was 3 years old. I can't remember it, I can't. I just remember that when my mom was amazed that the German and English came simultaneously, because I grew up truly bilingually, so I think I learned English first, but in the year after I learned to speak English, I learned German, so it was almost simultaneous. And reading was also simultaneous. So as soon as I could read in one language, I could read in the other, which makes sense to me, to be honest, because it's the same alphabet and the same principle. If it were like Russian or Chinese, that would have been impressive. Where do you read? What a cool question. So mostly on my couch, so like right over there. I'm very close to the couch. And I don't like to read in bed. That's something I don't really like. I usually like to read in cafes, but obviously I'm not able to do that right now. And I also like reading on my balcony. So reading outside, we have like really nice lounge chairs. That's kind of a place I like to read. I'm not a big outside reader because I always find it very difficult to manage like the light and it being too bright sometimes. I know, I'm a wuss. But I guess on my couch most of the time. Oh, and in trains. I love reading on trains. So much fun. What kind of books do you like to read? Ooh, good question. So I think I like a lot of contemporary fiction. So I try to read as much nonfiction as I can because I think it's important, and it's important to educate yourself, but I listen to a lot of nonfiction. So most of the audiobooks I listen to are nonfiction because it's just too difficult for me, besides actually working on my master's, to read nonfiction on the side. It's just a bit too much. I just can't handle that. So I read a lot of fiction, and I don't like fantasy, so that is one thing I don't really like to read. And magical realism sometimes, but not most of the time. But I like a lot of modern literature and fiction that will pick up social issues. So something like The Underground Railroad, The Nickel Boys. I really enjoyed books like that talked about other things. And I like stories that have strong plot twists that I can't guess. What does your book collection look like? Well, I'll show you. I can show you some footage and put it in here. So I basically have very big bookshelves full of books, but I'm trying to get better at actually sorting through the books every once in a while. So like every 3 months, sorting through all the books and thinking about, do I have to really keep all of these? Because I like the idea of recycling books and keeping them in like a cycle of being read. And if they're going to be on my bookshelves for the rest of my life without me ever rereading them, that doesn't make sense to me. Although I do have this like personal dream of having a personal library at home. I mean, who doesn't, to be honest? So I do really enjoy my book collection. I really like being able to reread things or to cite from literature. I like to pull out a book and be like, yo, this is what it said in there. So I also put in little sticky notes to actually find the different places that I annotate. So that's the Booktube Newbie Tag. I'm excited to try and do this. I wonder what your feedback will be. And I've also linked my Storygraph below. I have stopped using Goodreads and found the Storygraph website, which I think is a great idea. And I'm going to keep that updated, so I'll be showing what I'm reading right now, what I'm currently reading, and what my ratings are. So if you do want to peek into what I'm looking at right now or what I'm reading right now, you can check that out on my Storygraph. And other than that, I'm glad you were here, and see you at some random time in the future, whenever that may be.